No Game, No Life, Volume 5, Chapter 1, Part 2. Sitting cross-legged atop one of the mountains of books, chin in hand. I thought I could get you back by using myself as bait, Jibs, but I guess my hook was too big? With a chilly smile, Azrael mumbled the reason Sora didn't get what he wanted. Indeed, contrary to the attitude she presented, she didn't trust or respect Sora and Shiro in the slightest. She'd only been thinking of how to trap them in order to get Jabril back, without showing interest in why Jabril deferred to them as her masters. You never change, do you, Azrael? Azrael flinched at being addressed merely by a name, but her reply was composed. It doesn't make any sense that you, who are always so cheeky to me, and even Lord Artosh, would grovel before mere humanities. Just use the covenants, and it should be easy to negate their wills, or even turn them into puppets. I mean, I know you must have lost to them by some fluke and then been forced to serve them. I can see. She peered deep into Jibril's eyes. You've changed, Jibs. At Azrael's words, Jibril smiled coldly. Indeed, I have been able to change, unlike you, who never can. You fail to consider even the possibility that I was challenged and then lost. I suppose I should not have expected more. Icily, and with a distant, betrayed smile, Jabril went on. I turned my cheek to you and our departed lord alike, because I could not bear to watch. You are too hard-headed, and that is why. A moment's hesitation. Should she say it, or... But Jabril made up in her mind and opened her mouth, knowing that Azrael was more painfully aware of this than anyone. But even so, judging that it needed saying, she unleashed the words. That is why we failed, and that is why you still cannot change. This simple assertion was enough to strip away Azrael's affected smile. With the face of a puppet devoid of truth, of warmth, something that looked like Azrael, queried, Jibril, meanst thou to say thou hast found the answer? Repulsed by that thing in front of her, Jibril spat her reply. Yes, to be precise, I found it a long time ago. I only lacked proof. Now I need to assist my masters in their search, so if you'll excuse me. Leaving it to its silence, Jibril turned on her heel. What do you think? That is a question. What if she's wrong? That is no question. Well, yeah. Azrael, first of our number, I leave the decision to you. Not only myself, but we all have. I know, okay? She knew. She reminded herself of it once more. Azrael responded to the will of Adventheim within her. She watched the figures rummaging through the books, though she would have to bide her time for them to attack again, and then she would ask. Damn it, we don't have time for this. After a mere 30 minutes or so in the shadow of those looming mountains of books, Sora realized that this was a futile endeavor. Shiro, how many of this world's languages have you learned? Humanity, elf, werebeast, that's all. Shiro mumbled apologetically, but Sora rubbed her head tenderly. To Sora, for whom humanity was as far as he could go, that's all was something he'd never say. Her ability to absorb information was dizzying, but even so. Jabril, what languages are these? Those would be Dwarven and Demonia tongues. I can read them, but... Yes, Jabril was the only one who could read all these books. Shiro might have been able to pick up new languages with improbable speed, but one couldn't even imagine how many millions of books confronted them. It was impossible to dig up the information they needed with a workforce of this scale, and they'd known that perfectly well from the beginning. Jabril? Yes? There's no time. If we keep mucking around here, Ino's going to be in danger. We might have bought ourselves some insurance, but if those broads start thinking we really ran away, that's no good. Can you round up some labor? They couldn't be sitting around here forever, gathering information. Sooner or later, they'd have to take on the Queen again, so the original plan had been to use Azrael to gather stuff. But when they discovered that she had absolutely no such intention, they knew they weren't getting what they wanted. Sora had seen Azrael's face. It didn't represent the flugel Sora had imagined based on what he knew. utterly devoid of Jibro's intellectual curiosity and fighting spirit. It was just, I can, but I surmise it will turn out just as you guess. Yes, exactly what Ezra wanted, but screw it, we don't have time to hem and haw, Shiro. Biting his nails, an unusual habit for him, even when nervous, Sora put aside his muttering and, with Shiro's attention, plowed forwards. Now that we've missed our mark, we're gonna have to improvise. I'm counting on you to pick it up. Okay. Hey, Azrael... Sora had steeled his determination before speaking, but stammered for a moment nonetheless. She must have materialized some scenery from the Eastern Union, stuff she'd read about, like the Japanese shut-in Sora knew. In other words, Shiro and him. She sat deep in a heated kotatsu table, wearing a blanket over her head, watching a screen displaying only static. What do you want? You need a useless kid like me? What a waste of effort. Azrael had cloaked her immediate surroundings in darkness and was putting it all into an emotional appeal. Finding the stench of her acting impressive on its own, Sora's expression was strained. You know how the sirens have this queen who's, like, passed out? Azrael answered, still bundled in her blanket. Yeah, that dumb kid who got inspired by some stupid fairy tale to drive two entire races, including her own, to the brink of extinction in a single generation. She's so stupid. Even the shellfish clam up. Everyone knows her. Unable to describe the impression of watching Azrael's halo spinning above her blanket, Sora continued. Yeah, that chick. We're looking for records of the covenant she set forth for a game. Even Jibs knows that. I'm gonna sleep until you make me fall in love or something. Yeah, but that was actually bullshit. At Sora's words, seemingly forgetting her tear-jerking efforts, Azrael's eyes lit up. Huh? That's why everyone failed? So, what was it really? Despite everything, she was a flugel after all. That's what we want to find out. So if we want to gather records of the Queen's game as it had been played in the past, the stuff the players were told, as much as possible, and then we'll compare it all. After gazing into space for a while, Azrael answered curtly. Well, if you just need the records, they've got to be here somewhere, so have at it. Let me know when you figure it out. Flugel maybe, but very unlike Jabro indeed. Yeah, but there are too many. We don't have time to go through them all. Don't you know where... No idea. So, it's the sharing act, you know. After all those rounds of borrowing and lending, I can't even guess where they are by now. Do you see now, Master? This is why I fled my homeland. Disregarding her emotional appeal, Azrael beamed while Jabro glowered. You guys, if your life is collecting books, at least organize them. Nah, you got it wrong. We collect knowledge. Books? Who cares? Once I've got one memorized, I could even just toss it for all I care. But then the kids who haven't read it would get all pissed. Smiling as though on the verge of committing an assault, Jabro spelled it out once more. Do you see it now, Master? This is why I fled my homeland. Sora thought, getting the picture. All that really mattered was knowledge. And that meant... It was a total joke, but he glossed over it. So what do we do? Well, I guess you should go find the kids who know where the books are. There's some serious ones like Jibs. If you're motivated, you can probably dig them up, you know. Then get us... I don't feel like it. Slipping back into her calculated self-pity, Azrael pulled the blanket back over her head. If it's just Jib's favorite toys mucking about, I can look the other way. But who says I have to help you? I don't gain anything by making friends with you, and Jib is calling me stupid, even. I'm so depressed right now. I'm so hurt. I don't feel like doing anything. Sora slowly withdrew his phone. Even if I tell you, I'll show you footage of Jabro in the bath. Forget it. If you act now, I'll throw in the right to be called Big Sister. Forget it. Azrael broke into a sweat as if just emerging from some sort of fierce battle. Heaving her shoulders as if being tried unforgivingly, she squeezed out a voice. Look, I'm really hurt right now. And you think something like that? Wait, I don't just mean to call the video of Jib something like that. I mean, my wounds are even deeper than... you know what I mean, right? Tisk. Sora silently clucked. He'd figured that, among all the lies and performance, at least her obsession with Jabril was real, but his trump card failed to do the trick. Now his opponent was in total control. Play Flugel at an unknown game while they had the upper hand? You jest. Honestly, all it means to me is if the lot of you, small fries, mangy mutts, and hairless monkeys go to ruin, is that there will be a few new books about it. In fact, that's really better as far as I'm concerned. She glared at Sora intently. For those of us who live forever, you chumps who die in the blink of an eye aren't good for much more than another silly fairy tale. Help you? What makes you think I should go to the trouble? But he wouldn't let Azrael and Flugel take the lead. If they did, Sora and Shiro were finished. If Azrael was in it for the mind games, then great. Yeah, I guess that's how it is. That's why I said you're useless. But I guess you didn't get sarcasm, do you, you walking corpse? As Sora's brazen comeback, Azrael's expression moved. A tool with no one to use you. A puppet without a master. What a fun eternity that must be. Whatever. Asshats like you just wait for us to take over the world and then come whining. Let us join you, right? All you know how to do is jump on the bandwagon. We'll handle it with Jabril. Scout out your people one by one. Sora turned to leave. You think you can pick a fight with me and then run? Azrael demanded. We got her, Sora snickered to himself. A fight? Huh. It's not a fight if you're not even on the same level. Huh? It's nice to see you, no? Dude, you're obviously the one outclassed. Get your head out of your ass, you bird brain. Excellent. Let's do this. Raising her hands, Azrael bellowed down at Sora and Shiro. Wish and it shall be thine, if thou but kill its owner. Shiro and Sora's eyes narrowed at this epic BS. What's that from? Oh, master, this is a Flugel proverb. It is quite understandable that you would not know it. Hey, that's not even the issue here. We're not gonna fight. We're gonna play. But, ignoring Sora and Jabril's exchange, Azrael snapped her fingers. If you want the help of everyone Jib knows, you'll have to take them all on. That instant, everyone present was shifted by a coercive power even Jabril could not defy, and above their new location hung a banner that read, blank. Autograph and handshake session. Countless Flugel were busily engaged there, working hard on setup for the event. Damn it! From the 100 books that turned his way all at once, Sora instantly grasped everything. Her taking his bait was an act, i.e. she'd out-manipulated him. But this shock paled in comparison to all the eyes upon them, which caused Sora and Shiro to black out momentarily. But a question plaguing Sora allowed him to just barely retain his grip on consciousness. He hadn't seen this card coming at all. Sora couldn't hear as he took his unconscious posture. He'd already shut his ears, but squeals were undoubtedly bursting around him. As countless gazes descended, Sora asked in a trembling voice, Hey Jabril, what is this? What the hell is this? Guarding Shiro as her eyes rolled back in her head, Sora screamed, but Jabril merely clapped her hands. Oh, I had forgotten entirely. In order to place pressure on the Eastern Union, I have been preaching the good news that I have observed and set down, as it is the most efficient method of evangelism. And beamed. I have spread tickets for autographs, tickets for dates, tickets to lie alongside you, all kinds and all manner of fantastic extras. Knock off the dirty business. That's just gonna get the crazies to buy them all, and no one else. I see. I wonder why the turnout was so small, given the number of tickets distributed. But that would explain it, I suppose. Next time, then, I shall devise a more efficient method of promotion. Excuse me, evangelism. While a straight-faced Jabril scribbled notes or something in a book, Sora railed. Look, Jabril, if you're gonna pull shit like this, at least let me know. And that would explain how Azrael weirdly knew so much about them. But how were you supposed to outbet the opponent on a blind spot your own guys couldn't see? Anyways, it looked as if the nigh 100 Flugel crowded about were their fans. As Sora once more went fade at the attention, Jabril continued with a smile. Fear not, master. This hand is yours. What? And with these words, turned her sharp gaze to Azrael. The Flugel tongue, perhaps. Jabril and Azrael exchanged words incomprehensible to Sora and Shiro, but for some reason, the hall, so recently filled with squeals, transformed into a square of tense silence. Excuse me, Miss Jabril, I've got a bad feeling about this, but what did you just say? Oh, my apologies, master. Now that the matter is settled, I shall explain. Jabril turned back and continued. Let us accept Azrael's suggestion and have these maids assist us in our search. She smiled at the quivering Sora and Shiro. All we must do is to defeat them all in a game. Jabril, do you realize how hard it was to beat just you? You think we can take them all? Chatter, chatter, shiver, shiver. Sora and Shiro were already petrified of crowds and being objects of attention. If on top of that they had to play materialization Shiritori with particularly 100 Flugel, they were done for. Imagining this, Sora and Shiro went white. No, you see, you must merely defeat them all in one swoop. It is a blessedly merciful event. That's right, you're gonna play them all. As it has been settled, if you win, they will all collect the books that contain the content you seek, whereas if you lose, they will receive autographs, handshakes, and all those things they want. Squee! As squeals rolled over the venue, and the blanched Sora and Shiro went limp. Jabril, are you asking us to die? Jabril, I believe in you. Please, be at ease. It is inconceivable, after all, that you would lose, my masters. And, by the way, Jabril consoled the siblings as they shivered like newborn gazelles. And she turned back to Azrael, who clapped her hands. This is too many kids to play Shitori. Let's play tag. Jabril, I'll say it again. Are you asking us to die? Shiver, 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 shiver. Play tag against the Flugel? As if there was anywhere they could escape these psychos, who could fly and warp freely. She must have been telling them indirectly, go on ahead to the next world. But Azrael cut their thoughts short. But it wouldn't be any fun just playing tag. If we're gonna play like true Flugel, we should incorporate wordplay. Thus declared. Jabril extended her hand, and over it, swirling, appeared 46 syllables bathed in light. Familiar syllables. 46 generated from their language. Jabril tossed them to Azrael. These are from your world? Are these plucked from your native syllables? Azrael studied them, moving her hands intricately. Sora and Shiro couldn't sense it, but judging by the rattle of the ground beneath them, they could tell a gigantic rite had gone whoom. All done. Let's get going, okay? With that, the syllables vanished from Azrael's hand. All at once they scattered, individually settling at random upon any of the nigh 100 Flugel girls. Having confirmed this, Azrael said, The rules are simple. Each syllable has now been transcribed somewhere on a different girl's body. 46 syllables, nearly 100 participants. No way to tell who had which. The game is tag. It'll be nice and say they can't shift as a handicap. And if you two get caught by these kids, you lose. If you can keep going without getting caught for an hour, you win. If you touch one of the transcribed syllables, that is, without being caught, it will go to you masters. Jabril beamed. picking up Israel's explanation. With that, she tossed 2 syllables to Israel. You can join syllables to form a word. By way of example, Israel held up the 2 she'd received, ch and kri. As they whirled around her wrist, she explained, the meaning of your world will materialize where you touch, whether it's concept or an object or whatever. Ah. The moment they heard that, Sora and Shiro saw the future. The 2 syllables from Israel's demonstration connected above her palms. And then, yeah, what's this? It's gross, yeah. A creature appeared, a giant octopus, wrapping her in its tentacles, materializing the future that Sora and Shiro had foreseen. Israel flailed about, screaming, My, you do not know how to elicit the laughs, my elder, even going so far as to materialize words you are unable to read, as if you knew exactly what you were doing. Israel's cold smile seemed the least of Israel's concerns. Instantly, with a thwoom of throbbing air, the flugel blew away the octopus. Like that, you see? Said Israel, completely ignoring Sora and Shiro's squints. The meaning of the completed word materializes, whether it's an object or a phenomenon or a concept, just as you imagine it. Note that because my elder was unable to read the syllables she joined, it was my image that was materialized, since I gave them to her. In the actual game, only you, masters, will be able to use words. Israel casually, unapologetically confessed that she had molested Israel, yet Israel paid no mind as she cleared her throat and continued. However, each syllable would disappear after one use. You better use them carefully, okay? This concludes the explanation. Do you have any questions, masters? Hell yeah, we do. How are we supposed to run? In case you don't know, humans can't fly. Chatter, chatter, shiver, shiver. I do apologize, master. By all rights, I should be at your side. However, it is not permitted for me to participate in this game. To the 2 skeptical masters, Ezra responded with a cackle. It wouldn't be a game if Jibs was on your side. No one would be able to catch you. At least I felt sorry enough to give you your words. So let's do this. Brightening. You, the damp you're hiding there. Give 'em your wings. Israel turned. And that was enough to smash the stealth right like glass, revealing Plum, who'd been hiding the whole time. Huh? What? How'd you know? Truly, I must say your lack of presence is remarkable. Shiro whispered admiringly at the companion, whom even Sora and Shiro had been on the verge of forgetting. Nearby, Israel smiled and asked Plum, Hey, you may be a form of life lower than a mosquito, but surely you can weave a spell to make wings if you try hard enough to kill yourself? Ezra dropped the question from a perch higher than the gods. Meanwhile, shivering in fear of death, Plum plucked up the courage to answer. There's no way I can make them fly at the speed of a flugel. The shockwave alone would blow me to pieces, to say nothing of them. And anyways, I'm just about out of... But Ezra interrupted without breaking her smile. When you get tired, you can just help yourself to their bodily fluids. On my honor, I shall work to weave wings with all of my heart. Betraying her principles at the speed of sound, Plum stood straight as an arrow, and saluted. But, hey, hold on here. Who says we even have to accept? Sora started to ask, but Drill's demeanor cut him short. Please do not despair of me, and please have faith in me. He considered the girl, whose eyes conveyed an earnestness mixed with hope and unease, and next at her counterpart, whose smirk was like that of a corpse, empty and hollow. Wish, and it shall be thine. If thou but kill its owner, that's how the game goes, 'kay? The nervous gaze of a soul, and the empty smile of a puppet. Sora saw in this challenge something he'd seen before, yet game. At this one word, Sora and Shiro's eyes lit up, their heads rapidly cooling. Rules, conditions for victory, and even Ezreal's intentions fiercely assembled in their brains. Brother? Shiro, who had been doing the same thing, was nervous, but Sora nodded. I know. This was clearly different from the games they'd played before. A game was over before it began. This was Blank's creed. But now this was a game they'd been coerced to accept, a game they'd not anticipated, a game in which the other side had the upper hand. It was a game in which information lurked, hidden from them, exchanged in the tongues of Flugel, a game in which rules had been unnaturally set so as to favor the Flugel. It was too dangerous, it was too suspicious. The information was too uncertain. There was no way they could be expected to accept this game. Masters, I beg of you, please have faith in me. But those eyes, wavering in anticipation of punishment, yet conveying her heartfelt conviction of Sora and Shiro's victory, belonged to Jabril, the one who had set up this game. Let us ask about certain conditions. With a glance at his Flugel co-conspirator, Sora muttered, his head cool as ice. Sora had been looking up nervously, but now, Sora had decided, Shiro cleared all worry from her expression and focused wholly on sharpening her thoughts. The siblings, aware that Jabril had closed her eyes in gratitude, but not caring, crunched all manner of problems. To lay bare a game they had not anticipated, to predict factors they couldn't conceivably be foreseen, and they revved their brains. Shiro and I will be holding hands the whole time. The one we can't bulge, that's one we can't bulge on. Those wings, Plum's making for us. Yeah, we require that we each have one wing and we can move them as we wish. Plum, do it. At Shiro's unreasonable abandonment of the courtesy of a question, Plum responded half crying. That would take some really complex magic, so I'd like you to give me a break if you... We don't care how they look. In the meantime, we permit you to lick our sweat all you want. Leave it to me. I'll show you what a dampier is made of. Argh. With an unnecessary fierce cry, Plum, her wings instantly stained blood red, caught up a complex pattern in her eyes. Weaving together an intricate rite, Plum transformed herself into a scarf. She fluttered gently through the air, wrapping herself around Sora and Shiro's necks, with a whoop, connecting the pair in one long ascot. I disguised my presence in the physical plane. Now, the ends of the scarf should work as wings, I think. Much like she disguised herself as luggage when she first met Sora, Plum now assumed the form of a flying scarf. As even the Flugel looked on in wonder, Plum the scarf gave the impression of sticking out her thin chest. Short of breath, the scarf that connected Sora and Shiro by the neck puffed out its ends. Seeing it trace an arterial pattern and weave itself into wings, Sora nodded, and then he raised the final issues. And also, you have to transform the environment of Avenheim so that it's totally feasible for Shiro, Plum, and me to function here. Plus, you say we're going to use her wings, but we don't know how. You'll need to give us a head start of 5 minutes from the start of the game. Sound right to you, Shiro? That's fine. Everyone quietly gasped, not because of the transfiguration of the two who up to now had been quivering heaps. No, it was the declaration of 5 minutes was all the head start they needed. That was why. That is all right, isn't it? Jabril turned, putting the question to its drill, and the nigh 100 Flugel assembled there. The Amenities would evade 100 Flugel, employing a power they'd never used, with only 46 syllables as their weapons. If they really could do that, everyone gulped. All right. I do feel we're being a little easy on them, but... Azrael, apparently alone in not getting it, groused but moved her finger slightly, whereupon there came a roar and a tremor. I haven't fulfilled your wish, so shall we begin? Having nonchalantly reformed the environment of a world, Azrael again snapped her fingers. Soundlessly, the wall formed, opening a gigantic hole. Beyond the gaping hole in the wall, they could see the entirety of Avenheim. Outside, whether Azrael had moved everyone or had simply been through the passage of time, night had fallen. With no sunlight, it was the perfect environment for Plum. Leaning out of the hole to check the atmosphere, Sora and Shiro squeezed their joined hands. They could guess that the scarf hanging from their necks, Plum, was struggling to stay silent as she flapped. They couldn't see what lay below them, only feeling that the onrushing wind would carry them away, told them how high they were. Behind Sora and Shiro, Jabril announced reverently, Now, the game is between my 2 masters, and all the flugel here shall commence presently." Behind her 100 gazes, but once Sora and Shiro were focused on a game, their thoughts were impenetrable. "This is a map of Aventine." Taking the paper as it fluttered in the wind, Shiro gave it a glance and nodded. Jabril took a step back and bowed her head deeply. "Masters, I thank you. I've got to say I'm worried, but I believe in you. You better not let me down. Families gotta be protected. Everyone knows that." Jabril, Sora, and Shiro exchanged words only they understood, and then, "Ashiante!" All but Jabril raised their hands and shouted this. Sora and Shiro popped through the hole in the wall into the open air. Immediately, gravity took hold, a force beyond human ability to fight. As the wind beat their faces, slowly, gradually, they accelerated downwards. They couldn't see what was rushing up at them, but whatever it was, it could only mean one thing: death. Strangely bereft of all fear or concern. "Huh?" Sora chuckled to himself. "Brother?" As Sora turned to look at his sister, at the end of the scarf made a flapping noise, and opened into a wing, confirming from his sister's expression that one like it was on his back. "Go?" "Yeah, why should he be worried or afraid?" Sora laughed, holding hands tightly. Flapping their wings, 2 and 1, the mono-winged birds mightily defied gravity itself. That's the end of chapter 1. I like where this is going. This is definitely very interesting, how they're ending up fighting Flugel-kind, almost all of Flugel-kind. I'm sorry if there are any weird mic quality, like background rustling. I don't know why. This mic gives me trouble sometimes. I think it has to do with the cord, like not going in all the way. Hopefully I'll get that fixed in the future, or I'll figure it out. But until then, I've been trying to noise reduction it, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. So far, there don't seem to be any major twists or turns appearing here with this challenge. I'm curious how the letters on the back are going to come into play. I'm sure there are going to be some interesting words, but what entirely? And I wonder if you can use those characters, like Japanese characters correspond to, Latin characters in a way. So I wonder if they're going to use Romanji to make any words. That could be interesting. Well, anyways, thank you all for listening, and I suppose I'll see you guys next time.